Welcome to the podcast for online fitness coaches. We're Benji Tucker and Ethan Gonzalez, and together we scaled each of our fitness businesses from 0 to 80K in just 4 months. On this podcast, you'll hear how to get more online fitness clients, make more profit from each of them, how to keep them longer, and the many failures and lessons we have learned on our path to a combined 160K per month. Today, we will be teaching you exactly how we run ads that consistently give us at least a 5x return on investment. So let's get right into it. We're going to be a little excessively redundant in the beginning about why we run ads versus doing the bullshit organic. So Ethan, you want to take the reins on that and sort of explain that?
Yeah, I think first, very, very simple thing when it comes down to ads versus organic. Organic is not guaranteed. Ads are a lot more guaranteed in terms of guaranteed eyeballs on there. You pay Meta or you pay your advertising platform to guarantee X amount of views. And then it's all dependent on your creative, how you script it, how you film it, which we'll dive into, like based on how your ad is made, the results you're going to get. So it's a lot of responsibility on yourself, but you're guaranteed the views. It's no longer a guessing game as long as you use ads.
And here's a little plug for the get rich quick people. It's the quickest way to scale your business, but also it's the quickest way to learn like how to scale your business as well. So what I mean by that is you're not going to just run an ad and instantly scale your business, but once you have the skill to do so, you're going to run an ad and scale your business. So you turn the faucet on, you learn how to handle leads, what to do on sales calls, how to optimize your funnel. It is the best sort of teaching tool you could possibly give yourself, right? Everyone invests, like even I invested $110,000 into different mentors to teach us this and teach us this, yet we weren't making money from them. But as soon as we pulled all that information together and invested all that extra budget that we would have had for mentors into ads, we didn't make money right away. But once we did, we were able to scale our business because we had to learn from actually being in the trenches instead of just talking about taking action and investing in a bunch of different people. So,
Yeah.
hey, we're not saying don't invest in anyone just running ads. Maybe invest in us and add around it.
But I would say too, in terms of the organic versus kind of the ads route, there's a lot of people who kind of say like, well, I want to do organic and I want to get a couple sales and then I'll switch to ads, right? They kind of have that mindset of like, well, I got to make some money first and then I'll look into doing ads because it's safer.
Money.
It seems more comfortable. It's the easier decision, right? But also like just basic psychology. Do you feel like you grow more doing comfortable decisions or uncomfortable? Well, obviously uncomfortable. So the whole philosophy is just stupid. But anyways, let's say you were somebody who's like, I'm going to do organic and I'm not going to spend money on ads. How long is it going to take for you to get the same amount of calls that you could get with ads in a week versus organic in a year, right? What are you going to learn faster from? Obviously taking more calls quicker, learning from your mistakes and obviously getting better. But with organic, it's not guaranteed. You have no clue where your next call is going to come from. You have no clue where your next, DM conversation is going to come from. Right. So these principles that make you better at business are only going to be available to you if you're running ads.
Yes.
If you're shortening that sales cycle versus waiting over time to hope to get better and hoping that things work out.
There's a far stronger opportunity cost of not running ads. The cost of running ads is just that, whatever amount of money you put on ads per day. Let's just assume you don't close any deals in the beginning, whatever you're spending per day on ads. The opportunity cost of not running ads is not possessing all the skills required to scale your business to 20, 30, 40, 50K plus months, which is significantly greater than whatever you could spend monthly on ads just to be taking more sales calls, let's say.
Yeah. And here's a big belief that the Benj and I honestly had around the same time, or like just a belief shift is, we were so worried about spending more on ads. It was like, oh, dude, we're already spending like $50, $70 a day. Like that's a lot, whatever. And Benji just asked me, he's like, dude, like if you spent $5,000 on ads and your program's $4,800, is it unreasonable that you couldn't close one person to make your money back? And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously I'd close one person. Okay. So why aren't you doing it? Right. It's such a simple thing, but in terms of the effort that you put in, all these different metrics and things like that, like for you to fulfill one client for 6 months, it doesn't really take that much time. So the worst thing that happens is you break even. You make your money back and you just try again. But that was such a big belief shift for me because I was so worried about spending more on ads versus, hey, just spend more and you'll make it back. Pretty much guaranteed. As long as you don't suck. Like, as long as it's not terrible.
That's absolutely right. And then like what happened as soon as you did that though, is that you scaled it in a month. So
exactly.
yeah,
It was like literally the next month. I went from like 75 dollars to spend to like 350,
Guess
basically.
what? If something's working, more of it works, right?
Yes.
So when you find something that works, do more of it and do it better. Don't try something different when it's already starting to show signs of working.
Yep.
Uh, Guys, so that's exactly why you should be doing ads. We could talk about that forever, but we've talked about in so many episodes. I want to get right into how to script it, how to film it, how to post it, and then sort of how to judge the ads as well. So in terms of scripting ads, relatively simple. I mean, I'm not going to go into line by line, but really what we love more than anything is follower ads. Like you can run DM ads, you can run ads to DSL, but through our testing, especially if you're someone that's at, let's just say 5 to 10,000 a month, what proves to be most successful is follower ads. And you could run this all the way to 100,000 per month.
Yeah.
So in terms of scripting it, you want to start off calling out your target demographic in a very specific way. Hey, if you're this very specific person. The next 2 to 4 lines is going to be a very strong and intense qualifier. Speaking to that person in terms of the situations they're experiencing, the problems they're experiencing, what their lifestyle is, what their job is, what their family situation is, all of these things, right? Only things that they could relate to and not other groups could relate to. Then
Yeah.
you're going to kind of just give a call to action. Hey, if this is you, follow my page and I'll show you exactly how to achieve the result that that person particularly wants. And then from there, you're sort of just going to reiterate what you've already said in the ad in a different way. So you're going to qualify again, maybe by using a different example of their lifestyle or their problem, using different vernacular. And then you're just going to have the exact same call to action because people want to be told what to do, but they're stupid. So you have to be very specific about what you want them to do.
Yeah. Literally just say, hey, give me a follow. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, give me a follow here on Instagram, scroll through the rest of my content, and I'll
Mhm.
teach you exactly how. That's it.
Exactly. If there's anything like if you do everything else wrong, at least just ask them to follow you. Like I can't stress
Yeah.
that enough. Like we've seen so many stupid ads. Like here's real quick tidbit on what not to do. Hey, give me a follow and also message me and I'll send you out this thing. It's like you're asking them
Yeah.
to do like 2 plus things right there. And human psychology will tell us, and this is why link trees are stupid, by the way, is if you give someone multiple options, they'll be paralyzed by the multiple options. They either won't take them at all, or they won't choose the option that you want them to choose. So if you
True.
only give them one option, guys, then they could only feasibly choose the option that you want them to choose. I know
Yeah.
that's blatantly obvious, but like we've seen some really shitty ads that don't do that.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I mean, just based on the Linktree stuff, if you have, like, I think the stupidest thing for online fitness coaches to do is to try and be an influencer and get like supplement codes and hope that you make all your money from supplement codes. Like your supplement code in your bio, what does that make you? Like $10 a month? Take it out of there.
You have to have
Right?
hundreds of thousands of followers, and it's far harder
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, and or even just in your link tree, like, oh, here's my supplement for, GNC, and here's my code for Young LA, and like, just don't even worry about that. That's not making you any money.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, who are
right.
you? Like Alex Eubank or something?
Yeah,
You're not. And guess what? You'd probably make more money if you did high ticket coaching and hired infrastructure under him to make it work better. So
yeah,
it,
exactly.
it's like the Mr. Olympia, right? Where they say, well, that guy got jacked and like he didn't follow like this style of lifting. But yeah, what if he did? Like maybe it'd
Yeah,
be even more jacked? So same principle there. But guys, that's how it's scripted. Very simple, right? And you probably see these types of ads all over the place. Everyone's like making fun of people now. Oh, they're following the same script and all these things. And that's why you have to truly make it your own and really
mhm,
speak to an actual person that exists on the other side because that obviously that starts with the offer that you're making, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone run an ad and they're not even speaking to someone that actually exists on the receiving end. You have to make sure that you're speaking to a real person and truly understand who you're talking to.
yeah.
Go ahead.
1,000%. I was gonna say, remember that? I don't know if we can kind of say it, but we had a call with somebody about doing some consulting for a company, and we took a look at their ads, and it was just so weird the way
Yeah.
they had it done. They didn't have a clear offer, they didn't have a clear avatar, and it was just kind of like, hey, if you're 20 to 30 and you want to grow a butt, like, message me on Instagram. And it's like, they're like, oh, our lead quality sucks, and you don't have people with money. And it's like, where's the actual problem at? Maybe because they're 20 to 30 and they have no income.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's so simple. So just make sure you script your ad right because that's the creative is so important. What you
Yeah,
thinking?
so if you're gonna spend any amount of time or, like, more time on one particular thing, it's gonna be on the scripting. Filming, like, that should be very, very quick. Whether,
Mhm.
you have a teleprompter, you just read line by line. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated with, like, all these different angle shifts or like, it doesn't even have to be engaging as your normal content. Because the point is also depends on who you're targeting. You wanna repel the people who are, like, complete losers that, like, are into the
Yeah.
brain rot stuff and whatnot. Like if you're targeting a 50-year-old diabetic, like they're not going to care about brain rot as much. You know what I mean? They want to see that you could solve their problems. So,
Yep.
don't overthink it. Like some of the most successful ads are people pulling out their phone and just having it being talking head, or you could just stick a camera, if you have a camera right in front of your face, your iPhone or a professional one, and just talk to it. Typically, being in the environment that's relevant for your particular offer. So, at the lower echelons, if you were talking to the gym bros that just want to look good for girls on the beach, you could quite literally do that in a stringer in the gym.
Mhm.
If you're speaking to someone who's a remote worker at Google, then you're going to film in front of like Google headquarters or like at a desk at home.
Yep.
Pretty simple, right? You're gonna
Exactly.
show visuals exemplifying their lifestyle, in the editing itself, and you really don't wanna overthink it. Like, filming it should take 10 minutes, editing should take, like, 20 minutes. Make sure you have text on the screen because, that will allow people to further capture what you're actually saying. They'll visually see the call to action, "Hey, give me a follow," and that's pretty much it for the
Yeah. It's
editing
super
and
simple. Yeah. Maybe bits of B-roll if it matters, but that's about it. Like, that's all I'd say for filming
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
editing.
think B-roll is good too. Yeah, for sure. So, now it's just how to post, and a lot of people ask, "Hey, do I do it through the ads manager, Meta Ads Manager? Do I do it on Instagram?" Everyone teaches all these different things. We've done all the testing. No one knows exactly why. For
Mhm.
whatever reason, specifically with follower ads, not with all the other types of ads actually, they do better, like, running them, natively on Instagram. Like, I
On
not
PC.
yeah.
On
Yeah.
PC, not mobile.
Well, the reason why you can't do it on mobile also is because they take, like, I think it's a 15
30.
or yeah, 30% fee
Which is
just
crazy.
to, yeah, I don't understand that at all. So you have to do it on PC. There's actually a button where you hit create and then you could just hit launch ad. So you don't have to
Mhm.
just boost a post. You could do it that way.
Yep.
Launch an ad. And that allows you to test more without having like a shit ton of ads on your page. Because how a lot of mentors teach it, you're just gonna see people with like ads nonstop on their page as they're testing different ads. And that doesn't look as good because you want your page to be professional. So that's
Yep.
like a little secret hack that all the
Nobody
people
talks about.
yeah, everyone's like, "I'm the expert at follower ads," even though, like, we all know there's, like, a couple of people that started teaching it, and then none of the people, whether they started teaching it or they're the ones regurgitating it, actually teach what we just told you, so
Yeah. That's a huge thing. Go over it again. Like, honestly, because
yeah.
people don't even know how to do it, and we honestly, I think we're some of the first people to find out. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest.
Well, and it's, like, really simple, I don't know why, but basically, the way they teach it is that, like, the typical mentor teaches it is you post on your Instagram feed, and then from there, you boost the post to get exposure. However, imagine, right? Every couple days, you're testing ads. Some people and we recommend this occasionally as a test, to post them in clusters. Hey, post 3 follower ads at once to see which ones have better metrics. Or maybe, "Oh, this one did horrible, I'm gonna repost it or I'm gonna, post another creative a day later." So what happens is everyone comes to your page and they say, "Well, he's just running a bunch of ads. Like, is it really speaking? Like, I'm not learning or getting any value from the first
Mhm.
couple pieces of content." So what we found out is that when you go on PC and hit the create button on the tab on the left of PC. So like usually that's to create a post or
I
you
think it's
or
real
reel
story.
story and then like ad, right? So you're gonna put your creative into there. And then that's not gonna show up on your main feed, but it's gonna be run as an ad and have the same effectiveness as if you boosted an ad from your main feed. From there, you're gonna go into interest targeting with age. You just wanna be, you know, specific about what the actual ages of the people you're targeting. If you're targeting 40 to 60-year-olds, put 40 to 60. Like, that's very
Mhm.
simple. Targeting men, you put men. Location, just United States. We have tested specific areas, and it's not to say that that can't work because nothing's true in ads until you test
Mhm.
them, but from all the tests that we have done, we have found that just broad United States works better. So, like, although nothing's true in ads until you test it, and it's wise to learn from or it's intelligent to learn from your own mistakes. It is wise to learn from our mistakes. So I would
Mhm.
listen to us on that. Um, for interest targeting itself, there's different schools on thought on it. And honestly, you could test lots of different things and they all can work. And I'll explain why in a second. But generally, having a larger pool of people to target is a little bit better than a lower pool because the creative does more of the targeting nowadays. And I'll explain that in a second. But interest targeting, really, like if you're targeting a guy in finance, you're going to target things like finance,
Business.
businesses that will have people that are in finance, JP Morgan, Chase, like I'm pretty sure those are interests. Like I've run JP Morgan as an interest, for example, and I got people that worked as accountants, right? As an example. So
Mhm.
so I think that works pretty well. Another school of thought is, hey, you go very broad with like one interest. Some people just go broad and don't put any interest. And I'm
Yeah.
not here to tell you that any of them don't work. What I will say from our experience is we've typically done 5 to 10 interests in addition to letting the creative itself do the work. But all of the work, and it depends on the level of authority you have in the market. Like if you already have a lot of followers, a lot of authority, you could actually go more broad. And because your Facebook ads manager's pixel is more developed, it'll actually continue to go out and find better quality people with broad targeting. So that's just a little um tidbit there. But Ethan, do you want to like talk about the creative and how that
Yeah.
the quality of people coming in?
Definitely. So I'll give experience from my ads. So just going back a year ago, right? When I was making my ads, it was like, oh, if you want to eat whatever you want and lose weight and you want an effortless and easy way to lose weight, give me a follow here on Instagram, right? And so the things that I said inside of the ad were always talking about how easy you could do it or how effortless it was or how you could do whatever you want and still lose weight. And guess who it attracted? Really broke people, people who had no motivation. Like I actually had it in there. Like if you're lacking motivation in one of the call outs, and that was the worst thing I ever could have done. Right. I got like 30 cents a follower, which is awesome. But everyone who followed me was like just a loser, just the
Yeah.
worst type of client to work with. Even people who I signed on would be the worst clients. They wouldn't do the work. And so I was like, all right, where's the actual problem? And I tried different targeting. Targeting didn't seem to matter. I'm like, all right, let me change the creative. Let me change the way that I'm speaking. Let me change the avatar. I did those things on top of also doing more targeted interests, like Benji talks about 5 to 10 interests, very, very specific to the avatar. And that's what ended up crushing for me. But I think more than anything, it is the actual creative more than just the
Without
targeting.
a doubt. I mean, guys, imagine if I ran an ad inside of a Walmart versus I ran one outside of a private jet. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference in quality of people that are just looking at it? You know what I mean? Or so, like, when I first started running ads, I actually did boost a post that was inside of Walmart. That got me like 30 cents cost per lead. They were horrible people, dude. I also was running ones in my own home gym with my shirt off. That didn't work too well either. I was very like
Yeah.
that what I was wearing or not wearing rather was incongruent with who I was targeting. Then switching it up, wearing a polo with a very clean, fresh home office background actually resonated and sent that ad out to the right people. So, bottom line is just you want to find the right combination between your ad creative. So with the ad creative itself, the messaging and visuals
Mhm.
and interest targeting. And then
Yeah.
you take those elements, and then make sure that that's congruent with the Instagram page itself. You find the right mix between those three variables, and that will become sort of your data to continue making ads related to that. So it's a really good idea to take note of like every single ad that you do in the sense of what interest did I target? What did the creative look like itself? And what is currently on my Instagram feed when I'm running those ads. And then you will find, okay, this ad worked well. These were the variables that worked. This ad
Mhm.
didn't work well. Here was the variables that were present. And you could start to iterate more on the variables that worked and eliminate the ones that didn't to create even better ads through time.
Definitely. Definitely. And that wraps up a lot of kind of the main discussion of targeting interests in the creative. Now, if I were, let's say I'm starting out a little bit newer, I'm still at like 5, 10K a month. Like, how much would you recommend that I start spending on ads?
Yeah, if you're at 5 to 10K a month, I'd say 50 to 100 a day. For people that are a little afraid to spend, I just say a minimum of 50 then. That's completely fine. A lot of our clients, they start with 50. And the reason you wanna go lower, because a lot of people actually think, "Oh, that's a lot," because they're
Mhm.
afraid. Their emotional response to spending that much money every day, it's scary. But if you're spending less, then you're learning slow. And it's the same idea
Mhm.
that we explained at the beginning of the episode earlier on, where it's, "Hey, if you're running organic, you don't get that many at bats. With less at bats, you never get good at swinging." Right?
Yep.
So when we spend more money, we get more at bats. We might suck in the beginning, but we
Yep.
learn how to hit a fastball. We learn how to hit a curveball. We get a lot better at it, and then we can start knocking home runs out of the park. But
Yeah.
the opportunity cost of doing that slowly is that you don't develop skills quickly, and then you're just losing money slowly, and then
Yeah.
not making any money.
100%. And I'll say it to myself when I was spending 50 a day even, which is like scary to some people. When I was spending 50 a day, I'd be making, 10 to 15K a month. So I was getting a great return. But really what that looked like for me is in an entire month, I was taking like I was maybe taking like 6 calls, right?
Yeah.
And so that means that like each week I'd maybe have 1 to 2 calls and it'd be like, dude, you have to close this call. If you don't close this call, you're going broke. Like you have to close every call versus when you have a higher spend of like, when we talk about spending like $200 a day, you should be booking at least a call or two a day. So you have a lot more at bats and it's a lot less scary, right? And at the beginning of the month, let's say your budget for the month is $3,000 on ads. And let's say at the very start of the month, you book 2 calls in, you close the person for 3K. You're not worried anymore about the rest of the ad spend for the month. You've already kind of covered that. So now you're in the space of like abundance where you're like, oh, every call I take, it's no problem. And you'll actually have a lot more confidence than if you were spending 50 a day and you didn't make that sale. And then you're halfway through the month and you've spent $750 and you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. Right?
Absolutely.
Huge shift.
And I don't know if we could prove this with concrete evidence, but it's certainly been true from our experience and just our own clients and people we've spoken to. But I'm pretty sure Facebook rewards people that spend more money because they want you to continue spending more money. So Facebook hierarchicalizes, that's a cool word, right?
Yeah.
Their clients, which are us, the advertisers, by how much they're spending, and that's how much they care about you. So the more money you spend, the more they want to reward you to keep spending even more money and work you down, or up the chain in that hierarchy so that they can make more money ultimately because Facebook is a business. So if you
Yeah.
spend less money and someone's spending more money and you're targeting the same interest in a similar avatar, who do you think is going to get better leads? Facebook
Mhm.
wants to incentivize you with better leads if you're spending more money because, well, then you could wipe out the people that are spending less money so that you could spend more.
Yeah. And you'll probably if you're making money, then you'll stay spending the money for longer too. So,
Yeah,
they want you to win. They don't want you to lose.
exactly. It's just you'll lose if you're not following the right strategies at all, right? So you have to play to Facebook's algorithm and how they treat you sort of.
Yeah.
So maybe we could talk a little bit about now, like you've launched the ad already. Holy
Yep.
shit, launched your first ad, or you're launching ads already, but you don't really know what KPIs do I track or when do I judge an ad, when do I scale it, and we're gonna make an entire podcast episode. It'll probably be an hour long, just on measuring KPIs because there are so many KPIs we look at in our business.
Definitely.
Because if you're flying blindly, then you fall off a cliff. But
Mhm.
let's just talk about like generally how much money to spend on ads and how to kind of judge them. So, in terms of how long to run an ad before actually judging it, we like to say, hey, you want to spend $300 to be able to judge the primary KPIs, which is going to be your cost per call booked slash cost per call show.
Yep.
And also your return on ad spend if you've closed any of those deals already. Because of course, if you're running a profitable ad, there's no reason to ever shut it
Stop.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, why $300? Because typically for most fitness offers, it's going to be $300 or less for a quality cost per call. You want to usually be within that KPI, but of course that goalpost can shift a little bit if you have a more expensive offer. So if your offer was worth $25,000, right? Just as an
Yeah.
example, you can't judge your ad off of $300 ad spend because what if you spent, well, 10 times that? That's only $3,000 to make a $25,000 sale. That would be amazing. So you have to keep
Exactly.
that in mind a little bit. Now you can cut the ad earlier.
Mhm.
if secondary metrics are super, super bad. Okay. So what I mean by that is if your cost per follow is like $15 instead of $3 per follow. Well, that's probably not going to make
Yeah.
the metrics work that truly matter, which is your cost per book call and your return on ad spend. It could it in theory, sure, but probably not, right? So that's why we talk about that being a secondary metric. Some people judge the ad off of, oh, the cost per follow was so low, it was 30 cents. That's amazing. Well, is that
Yeah.
amazing if the leads are shit? And you're not making any money back from the ad? Like, are you here to have a low quality
Yeah.
product to follow, or are you here to make money? Right?
Yeah. Very true. It's a good point because I think a lot of people, you can focus on getting the lowest cost per follow. You can, focus on getting the highest cost per follow, and both can work. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely like, you know, people who make things work. We won't say in ads there's a definite one answer, but
Yeah.
if your range for cost per follow is $1 to $5, you're probably in a good spot. Like you don't have to kill the ad just yet, unless the other metrics are bad. Like you're not
Yep.
booking calls, the quality's bad, all those different things.
That's right. And like, in all fairness, like both sides work, right? You can have a high volume funnel where you sort through the crappier leads, and you can have a low volume funnel where it's all quality leads. Typically, that's where our clients end up because their offer is very niche and very specific,
Yeah.
solves a particular problem. And usually you could spend, charge a little bit more because of that as well. Now, we have known, well, I would say we've only known one person that we've interacted with that has less than $1 cost per follow and is doing really, really good in his business. So that should just
Yeah.
speak volumes to the fact that it's not necessarily a bad thing if your cost per follow is a little higher than other coaches in the industry, right? Because lots of coaches in the industry are running ads. Most of them suck at running ads.
True. Very true.
So, that's how much I would sort of spend on ads before judging them. Now, in terms of scaling ads, we're going to make it very, very simple for you. Of course, there's other variables at play, but when do you actually start to spend more money on ads? Now, scratch your emotions aside, like Ethan gave his anecdote
Yep.
before. It means nothing. Emotions don't make you money, data makes you money. And when you could directly attribute that you put $1 in and got $3 out, you could attribute that to ads, then it means you're ready to scale. So long as you have the infrastructure to sustain that scaling, meaning, hey, I'm going to put the faucet on more. I'm going to get a shit ton of leads per day, be taking all these sales calls. Then you're going to want a setter. And then
Yep.
you're going to close a bunch of deals within that next month or two. And then you're going to want to hire a coach because you don't have enough time to do sales calls when you're doing client work all day. So you just
Exactly.
need to put $1 in and get $3 out. And you need the infrastructure as it relates to your team to be able to support that scaling.
Exactly.
What
God's
experience
plan.
have you kind of had with your business in terms of like your setter and your coach and how much easier that's allowed you to scale?
Yeah. I mean, I would say the months that I was hitting 10K a month were harder and I did more work than the months that I was doing 50K a month. Why? Because I went from doing 10 hours of DMing, constantly on my phone, every single second of every day, no free time. Because I was so focused on like, dude, I have to book calls. If I don't book calls, I don't make money. Like, this is my life. Like, again, in a month, if you're spending $1,500 on ads, you're probably only going to book like maybe 10 calls a month. So those 10 calls are your lifeblood. Somebody cancels, somebody no shows, you're stressed, right? Versus when you're spending more and you have more people coming in, your setter's doing that work for you. You're like, all right, cool. He's booking calls. We're doing good. You take the calls. That's all your responsibility is, just taking calls. And then after you finish the call, you book them for your onboarding with your coach. So you don't have to worry about the client afterwards. It's so much simpler at scale to run this business. So it's all about getting you from that initial like 10, 15 to 20 and beyond. Really, once you get that coach, that setter hired, you could scale as far as you wanted, as long as kind of you have the infrastructure and you have a good ROAS.
Because
There's
putting
nothing that's stopping
Yeah, because any dollar that you put in, like, it doesn't require any more time from you.
you.
So
Exactly.
instead of it being like, oh shit, I'm getting all these leads, I have to do more setting. I'm getting all these clients, I need to do more client work, and then that being the bottleneck. Well, when you remove those by just hiring out, well, that's no longer a bottleneck, and you even have more leverage in the deals that you're making too. So, like, let's say your program's worth 5,000. You're like, this guy's negotiating for like 4,300. That's what would get him over the edge. And you're like, shit, I really don't want to do this for 4,300. It's not worth my personal time at the level of business that I'm at. Guess what? It's worth another coach's time though.
Yeah.
So instead of you making $0, not closing the sale, you could still make, like, let's say, a $3,000 profit instead of a $5,000 profit of you working individually on that client. And it works out great in that way. And you could just keep closing deals in that way as well, increasing your close rate. So
Yeah.
that's one really big point of leverage there. I think you do that with your coach right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, with where my business is at, I always keep it at 48, but I know that like if I were to be somebody who's like, all right, like this person will do it for 4, I'll do it for 4. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the difference between you making 0 and you making $4,000,
Yeah.
right? And if you do that a couple times a month, you go from making 0 to now you're making an additional
Yeah.
10, 20, $30,000 in your business just because you're letting more people in, right? And it,
Mm.
as long as it's profitable, right? If you pay your coach $100 a month and someone's willing to pay you 600 instead of $800 a month, you
Yeah.
still make $500 a month. So why not do it?
And maybe I was
Well,
thinking of your upsells as well, but you can
it's
do
the
it.
upsells. Yes.
Yeah, you can do it with the upsells as well, right? So if you do it how we teach it, and you go back and watch our episodes on that, but where we're giving a year upsell, downselling the
Mhm.
upsell, hey, we're going to give you a better deal to work with us for a year. That can be an extreme discount because they're working with another coach to incentivize a lot of cash flow coming into the business at once.
Yeah. Cause for me, like I'll talk briefly on upsells and then we'll move on. But basically, if I'm gonna charge if anyone wants to work with me now, it's 4,800. No questions asked. I'm not gonna do for any less. And I'm probably gonna raise my price honestly to like
Yeah.
53 or 6.
Yeah.
But if someone wanted to do a year and they're a current client, it's now 9,600. I'm not budging. I don't want to do fitness clients. I'm done. Right. So it's 9,600. But if you want to work with my assistant coach, it's only 6K for a year. So for them, they paid 4,800 for 6 months. Now they're gonna pay 6K for a year. It's double the time for $1,200. That's an insane deal, and they'll
Yeah.
take it basically every time.
Well, that client came from an ad, and then let's say he was sold for 4,800, and then he's going to work with a coach as well for the next year,
Yeah.
right? From that ad alone, if you were to downsell that guy for a $6,000 a year program, he spent 4,800 that came from the ad, and then he's also spending 6K on top of that. So that's nearly $11,000 directly attributable from that ad, wherein it might have just been 4,800 if you didn't have the leverage to
Mhm.
downsell someone in that 1 year upsell.
Definitely. And when you have the infrastructure and the coaching, you'll actually provide a better service because that coach can dedicate more time each day to every client. And you can't because you have all these sales calls and you have all these setting and all
Yeah.
these other issues. Right. So it's you provide a better service when you hire too.
Exactly. So a lot of people say, "Hey, I want to like really personally be able to help people." And you should still be able to. You keep your prices high for you yourself or whatever it is. But you say, I don't want to get so big and have so many clients and boast about that I'm really not helping anyone and screwing everyone over. Guess what?
Mhm.
You hire a coach. It solves that bottleneck of not actually having an impact on people's lives, and it solves the bottleneck of you not making as much money as you want to make. So,
Yeah.
boom, like double, well, inverse of
Double
a
win.
right? I guess double win. Yeah, exactly. So. Last thing to sort of tie this all together, guys, because this is all about ads, and ads are always the buzzword, and everyone thinks they're kind of like mystical creatures, and they're not. We spelled it out for you. We made it really simple. Um, you could probably go out and start to test these types of things. I'm not saying you're going to be perfectly successful,
Mhm.
but you go out and test them. Now, it's not everything though. Ads only make up 15% of your success in your business.
Yeah.
Of course, if you optimize that 15%, it makes the rest a lot easier down the chain of command, but it is the iceberg theory in action, right? So at the top of the iceberg, the cap that you see, it's like, whoa, that's massive. That must be such a big, like that's a big iceberg right there. But you think
Mhm.
that's all there is. Under the water, it makes what you saw above the water very small in comparison. And that's what it is after the ad. What do you need to know how to do after that? You need to know, hey, how to optimize your Instagram bio, how to make content that converts, how to nurture these leads through short form and long form content, what type of content to post, how to speak to these people in the DMs, how to paint the gap there, how to book in calls, how to make sure they show up for calls, how to
Mhm.
close deals, how to meet objections. how to fulfill in your program, how to
Yeah.
upsell. Right? That's a lot of things that I just went through right there.
Yeah, and there's even more. Like, we could talk on every single step, and it'd be like a 4-hour video about, like, okay, you gotta optimize this and this and this and this and this. And some people think, like you're saying, it's just the ad, or I could probably do it on my own. Like, I've heard a lot of that,
Yeah.
and it's like, do you realize that, like, if you were to run the ad, let's say you get the lead, how confident are you that you get a world class lead onto a call, and then they show up, and then you also close the call, and then you upsell the client? Probably not very confident anymore. But you're confident about running the ad, but it is about that 85% that's left over that makes or breaks your business.
That's right. Like you could have a million leads, but not know what to do with them and, make no money. That's why there's influencers out there that have 500,000 followers and barely crack $10,000 a month.
Right?
They have the million leads. It's the situation playing out like in real time. Like you see these guys all the time. Anyone on your explore page that's posing with their shirt off has the million leads. They don't know how to use them.
Yep.
That's simple.
So easy.
All right, I think we could wrap up now, and I think maybe
Yeah.
I'll take like a little rundown of just what we went over, guys. So, in this episode, we talked about how you absolutely need to run ads if you want to learn the skills required to make money, so you get more at bats. You learn how to actually properly swing. We went over how to script the ad, the simplicity of qualifying your avatar that you're targeting, how to film them. Relatively simple editing it with, a couple visuals, making sure you have text on the screen, posting them through Instagram using our unique targeting strategy, how much to spend per day, how to judge ads, kind of when to scale them, and ultimately making sure that you optimize everything after the ads as well.
So overall, guys, that's the end of the episode. So I want to say thank you for watching the 9th episode of the podcast for online fitness coaches. If you want to learn how we can get you 20 clients in the next 6 months, completely guaranteed, or we give you all your money back and $5,000, just message us client on Instagram at PT Launchpad. So if you want to get 20 clients guaranteed in the next 6 months, message us client on Instagram at PT Launchpad, and we'll reach out with some more information.
Take care, guys.
Take care.